Welcome. I know we're going to be going live on our Facebook group as well. If you're joining us here on Zoom, welcome. Hope you're having a great Thursday so far and hope you had a great Thanksgiving break last week. If you're in the United States, hopefully you're feeling a little bit more recharged. This is the final month of the 2022 year. So wishing you all the best for this next month. I'll go ahead and pause just to let everyone connect. You can turn your camera on or off, whatever you're most comfortable with. I know some of you are joining us on your lunch break. Some of you it's the morning, depending on where you're joining from. So welcome. We appreciate having you here. I'll talk first a little bit about our Montessori Town Halls. So we host these on every single Thursday throughout the school year from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. on Zoom as a free space for Montessori leaders and administrators to connect. And we invite great Montessori thought leaders to come and share their expertise, their experiences in the Montessori space. We think that it's important for Montessori leaders to have a place to come together, ask each other questions, find support. We know it can get lonely at the top, and it's important to have a sense of community online. These calls are always free and open to anyone, so feel free to invite a fellow Montessorian. Also, we'll be posting the recording of this on YouTube. You can find all of our town hall recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you ever have one that you want to check out or reference or just watch back later, you can see it there. Today, we're going to be talking specifically about building STEAM programs in the Montessori space. We're joined today by Rupali Sharma, who is a Montessori student, mother, and educator, and she's trained as an architect and now runs the tech schools. TEC schools Think, Explore, Create, and Worcester. She's passionate about education and started Imagination Unbound and the Tech Schools, two educational organizations that lay early foundations in creative thinking and problem solving through hand-on learning experience. I'm excited to have her here today to talk specifically about building and integrating STEAM curriculum in your Montessori school. If this is something that you're curious about, we're excited to have you here to learn. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Rupali so she can share her presentation with us.
Thank you, Camila. I want to thank you and Nido Marketing for giving me this opportunity to speak today and share my experience as how we built our school. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. So why STEAM? You know, we are Montessori schools, and what makes us want to bring STEAM into our school? I'll share my perspective. As a mother, I just felt that my son wasn't getting enough science and technology lessons in his Montessori school. We did Montessori for him since he was really a toddler, or ever since he was born. We've been doing Montessori at home. And I felt that in his school, we would do after-school programs to bring in robotics or animation. And the fact is that our children are now growing up in a digital age. And if they understand how technology works, then they can actually be part of the environment that brings in technology and creates the environment of the future. If they don't know how STEAM works, then they're going to be consumers and everything is going to seem like magic to them. Now, if you look at Maria Montessori's vision, she talks about the child achieving his or her highest potential. And by achieving that potential, they create, every individual person together creates the civilization that they live in. So as a natural step in the Montessori direction, when I established our school, we decided that we would integrate STEAM with the Montessori curriculum so that it's not just an after-school class, it's not just a special, but it is part of what the students do throughout the year. So during the year, they have the regular Montessori curriculum, reading, writing, math, history, geography, science, practical life, sensorial. And every 6 to 8 weeks, we the STEAM programs punctuate the curriculum. So in October, we have Mystery History Day. We have gingerbread castles in December. We have a STEAM fair in February. And then the children do an end of the year show where they build the sets and the props for the end of the year show. So those are that's kind of the flow of the school year. So what are we going to look at today? I am going to talk about what is STEAM. We're going to first start with a building activity because, hey, we are all Montessori teachers or Montessori educators, and we love to have hands-on materials. So we'll do a building activity, and then we'll talk about STEAM and how Montessori and STEAM are integrated. We follow the 3-year curriculum. Most Montessori schools have a 3-year cycle. I'll share what our 3-year cycle is, and then we can talk about some of the cycles that other schools follow. And then I'm going to highlight one STEAM program that we have done, which includes origami and robotics. And then we'll see how we can make it happen at your school, whether you want to implement a complete program and then have a framework, or you want to take just pieces and see how you want to include them in your curriculum. So let's build. I would say if you have a piece of paper, all you need is a piece of paper. And most of us have our cell phones, right? So let's take about 3 to 4 minutes and let's all just build a stand for our cell phones so that our cell phone can rest on it. So just grab a piece of paper and we'll spend about 3 to 4 minutes and you can build, and then we can share our experiences. You can be as creative as you want. You don't have to limit yourself. We are not using tape. We are not using scissors. We're just using paper. And then as you're working with paper, you can think about what are the properties of the paper? What makes paper, typically we use it for writing or wrapping things. What else can the paper do? How can we change the behavior or the nature of paper to do something that it typically doesn't do? I see Michelle has an interesting design there. And if you're done, you could just unmute yourselves and share what you have. And then you can test your design by placing your phone on it. We'll take 1 more minute. And if you're done, then you can just unmute and share what you've designed. Would anyone like to share? And even if it didn't work, just share your process.
Yes, I can share. Can you hear me?
Yes, Aurora, we can.
So I kind of just folded the paper origami style, but I didn't really follow any particular pattern. I just pictured in my head that I needed something to just prop my phone from falling. So I kind of came up with this. So those 2 legs are going to keep it up. And then this is kind of what keeps the phone when I put it here. Let me see if I can show you. But it's not working that great.
That's okay. That's part of the process.
Can you see
Yes.
it? Oh,
Yes, very nice. Thank you for sharing that.
anyway.
Would anyone else like to share?
I think Aurora and I had similar ideas because I also did something to kind of just support it, but I think I underestimated the thickness of this paper. It's definitely not strong enough to hold it, but it's funny we had similar ideas.
And Michelle, do you want to share your design? I just had a peek. Oh, I see a green design there. Would you like to share what you've done?
Yeah, so my paper was not super strong, so I had to put some bends in it to add some rigidity. I unfortunately can't show you with my phone because I'm currently using my phone on it, but
Yeah, sure. Michelle, do you want to share yours? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Sure. Mine is not, I had hoped. I was trying to build something that might sit on top, or possibly this way, but the paper wasn't strong enough, but it does work to sit. It does keep it off the ground if I just sit it like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody else have anything to share?
I just made it on an angle, so it's not very high off, but it does. I'll have to pick up the phone here to kind of show you. I don't know. It's kind of just a little ramp.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, these are all great designs. So if we look at just the process, we can say, what did it feel like? What did it feel like to make something? Just unmute and you can share your thoughts. Was it exciting? Was it hard? Was it easy?
It was fun.
It was fun. What made it fun?
Trial and error, asking questions. Okay, this didn't work. What else can I try? What do I notice about what I've built so far? Now, what do I need to do to change it and make it succeed?
Yeah, so it engages your mind. How is it different from a Montessori material?
I think a lot of Montessori materials are intended to be used a certain way, whereas this was kind of a little bit more of a problem-solving approach that you could take anywhere.
Right. It's much more open-ended. Thank you for sharing that. So that's a quick feel of what STEAM feels like, and you know, it is fun. That is the main thing. It's a lot of fun. So if we just look at what do children desire, and something that we see in Maria Montessori's writings is that she saw that children love action. They don't want to just sit and be told what to do, but they like to, they need that sensory input. And these are two paintings by an artist, Brian Larson, and these two paintings hang in the lobby of our school. So these two paintings kind of capture what we're talking about. In the orange and yellow painting, you can see this child placing the last block, and we see this focus and concentration, the need for order in the Montessori materials, whether they're using the pink tower or the brown stairs or the Nobles cylinders. They're laying foundations for something much bigger to come. The other painting, you see this child is looking at the rocket taking off. She could be in that rocket if she wasn't that young. She doesn't have the skills for reading, writing, math, science to be in that rocket, but she has curiosity. And all children have this natural curiosity for things. They can imagine at a much higher level than they can read and write. So what the STEAM program does is that it captures that curiosity and allows the children to manifest their ideas into a real form. So the role of the adult is to sit alongside and promote that curiosity, allow them to explore various tools. And you can see she's got duct tape all around her. She's got her solo rocket ready to, wagon rocket to take off. She's got aluminum foil and solo cups on it. And by allowing children to make real projects, they'll do trial and error, but through those, they can start imagining, they can bring their ideas to fruition. So that's what the STEAM project does. But not just on a superficial level, but an integrated STEAM project also allows children to consider the element from all facets. So we use the scientific method. First, we just teach them how to observe, how to take notes, how to collect data. And mostly at the beginning of the year, they're doing these small experiments. We start with the creation story. The creation story allows them to start experimenting. They start collecting data. And then slowly they start engaging in designing their own projects. So now that design project, like many of you just said, some of the paper stands were able to hold the weight. Maybe you had to change the angle, but it's an iterative process. The design is giving you feedback, you're taking the feedback, you're making something more from it. A STEAM project also allows children to bring in all their learning in one unified element. So whether they're designing, in this particular case, this child is designing a maze to set up in the classroom for a haunted classroom during Halloween. So he's got his design, he is kind of laying out the lay of the land to talk about it, and his classmates are giving him feedback. It's a real life application. Why the real life applications, they're so important in a STEAM project, because if the children cannot test their design, it's just going to stay in their head. And if they can't see where they need to improve, they're going to think that their first idea is the best idea. But just from our simple experiment, we saw that the first idea sometimes works, but many times we have to refine the idea or come up with new ideas. So it allows the children to think deeper, to be more creative. It's also meaningful and purposeful. One of the things that Maria Montessori talks about is that imagination is such a powerful characteristic of human beings, and that imagination has to be grounded in reality. So by giving them real life examples or models to work on, they can experiment with their designs. Now, if you look at Montessori, we follow the child. We say, what does this child need? And it's a big picture idea. You start from the whole and go to its parts. I remember we had a student who transitioned from a traditional school environment to our school in middle school. And when he watched the third graders present the creation story, he said, "Oh, I get it. This is how the world is made up." And I could never put the puzzle pieces together because every year they were taught a small piece and the child could never put the whole picture together. But by starting from the whole, he could then say, "Oh, wow, this is how it fits in." And once you've captured the child's imagination, you can then build up their skills by giving them small projects, just testing with different materials. Today we tried paper. Another day you could do straws and paper clips. Another time you could do, maybe you can add tape, masking tape. All right, let's see how much weight can a newspaper with index cards, craft sticks, and tape and paper clips will hold. And you can just have them make contraptions that will fit between two chairs that they can try. So by giving them small projects, they can build their skills. And every time you add on. Another thing is that many people think that STEM activities or STEAM activities are restricted mostly to men or to males. And by bringing these activities to your classroom, you're breaking those barriers. You're making it accessible for all children at all ages and teaching those skills that, yes, you can do it. It doesn't have to have any stereotype attached to it. And that way you can then challenge each and every child to reach their potential. Now, in our school, we follow a 3-year cycle. Every school has their 3-year curriculum and a 3-year cycle. I would say, take a look at what your curriculum is. So, as I said, the STEAM curriculum is integrated with the Montessori curriculum. It's not STEAM first and then Montessori. It's the other way around. So, what are the, and over here, I've just very briefly mentioned highlights of a 3-year curriculum. There's a much more detailed curriculum. But basically, we try and cover 2 continents in depth. We cover all 7 continents as a broad stroke. But for 2 continents, we study them in depth. And we study 1 or 2 physical elements. So we study sound 1 year, light 1 year, forces and motion another year. And so the way we do this is we have Africa, North America in year 1 with sound. We study Asia with origami, magnets, percussion instruments. So Asia and South America. In year 3, we have Europe, Australia, Antarctica. We do astronomy, light, and Renaissance frescoes. And the engineering concepts that we teach them every year, we have mechanical engineering, electrical, and computer engineering. We do woodworking. So we teach them how to use saws and drills, sanding, and then laser cutters. We also teach them how to bake. And every year we make gingerbread castles around this time. We also invite our community partners, because as a small school, we don't have tools for everything. We don't have huge labs. We are a very small school, but we partner with local polytechnic colleges. We partner with local think tanks and with Makerspace. We partner with the art museum right across the street. And by doing that, you can suddenly, bring all those resources to your children. You can either take them there or bring them to your school. So that's how we've structured our 3-year curriculum. So now when we look at how are we integrating STEAM with Montessori, the year that we study Africa, North America, we also study forces and motions. So the children build their own roller coasters, Rube Goldberg machines. So for the middle school students, they not only have to build their own Rube Goldberg machine, but it also has to connect to their friends. So there's a lot of collaboration there. When we study Asia and South America, we study origami as an art form. So with the biomes that the lower elementary students study, they study animals, plants, they also study origami and robotics. When we do flowers and pollinators in Europe, Australia, and Antarctica, they also learn about symbiotic relationships. They learn about robotics, 3D printing, animation. So those are the different skills that are integrated. Here is our STEAM, our science teacher. She's talking about what a STEAM fair looks like at our school.
Hello, I'm Nancy Sergi-Gott. I'm the science and technology teacher at TEC School, and I want to talk about the STEAM Fair, which is our signature event here at TEC School that brings together all the disciplines at the school into one wonderful project and event. And it incorporates not just the science and technology aspect in the project, but it brings in language, writing, history, geography, and engineering, math. All these components come together for the STEAM fair and the final presentation that the children do. But it's a collaborative effort. All the teachers are work together with the students to bring them forward, to teach them these processes so that by the end, they're comfortable with doing research, doing their writing, designing their board, producing the technical elements for their project, and being able to stand and present their project to their peers and to the public at large.
So, so that's our, just give me 1 second here. So that's our science teachers.
Oh, Nancy said you got.
Here are 2 examples of the STEAM Fair project. Oh, let me just go back there.
Hello, I'm.
Sorry. So here are 2 projects. On the left is a child from lower elementary, and on the right is a child from upper elementary. This is during the STEAM Fair. In lower elementary, they're studying biomes, they're studying animals, plants, and the topic in science was flowers and pollinators. And so she was studying Africa that year. She has research on her board. She made her flower and pollinator. Behind her, you can't quite see it, but is a biome that she made. And on the right is a child in upper elementary. They were studying forces and motion. And she had on the base, you can see are the continents of the world. And she made paper mache mountains that are to scale with different materials that she has used to make her roller coaster. Now, it seems very simple, but there's a lot of tinkering that has gone in. And children can take it as far as they want. It's a 6 to 8 week program that they can do. I'm just going to stop share and I'm going to start again so that we can go back. All right. Here are the middle school students. They've built their Rube Goldberg machine, and you can see that their machine connects to the next machine. Again, the teachers give them time in the classroom to work on these. So for kindergarten, first grade, second grade, most of the work is done in the classroom. For second, third graders, they do about 75% of the work at school and 25% at home. They go research at home. They may try some experiments at home. And then for upper elementary and middle school students, we have them do about 50% of the work at school and 50% at home. The idea is that they're developing those skills of being independent. So let's take a deeper dive into one of the year's STEAM Fair projects. So this particular year, we were studying Asia, and they were studying origami as an art form. They were doing robotics and biomes. So on the right, you see this child has done a Who Am I? He found that there's a creature called caracal that he would like to study. And he drew a picture of it and then made an origami model. We then connected it to robotic parts. Here's another example of students doing their research. Here's another student who had made a macaw. Now these are all children's imagination. These are not from a kit. So they play around with this is just paper and tape and robotic parts that they can connect the pieces to. And then once they have their robot created, they can use Scratch programming to to program their robot. So their robot can move forward, back. Again, for kindergarten first graders, even if they can just get the motors to move, that's more than enough. They're just learning how to like make a motor move. For second, third graders, they can move forward, backward. Fourth, fifth, sixth graders and up, they can do many more things with sensors and motors. Here is a biome, and you can see this child has also used clay models. It's a collaborative effort, so they're testing out the robot. Here's an example of a research board. I'm going to play this video so you can see what the robot looks like.
What the caterpillar is. It has some stomach, a tail, fur, feet, and claws.
So that's one example. And here's the macaw that we saw.
One by one,
And I'll show one more example.
The little cat goes slow because it's like in life, if it was windy, it would spin around. So it goes like really slow like that. And then the mud skipper, it like pops up and down like this, like it's skipping. And
so those are some examples of robotic applications. So what does an integrated curriculum look like? We've talked about, Nancy in her talk mentioned how the teachers work together. So what does this mean for all of us as administrators or as teachers? What does this look like? So first thing is, if you want to follow the child, we all know that we have to prepare. We need a prepared environment and a prepared teacher. So as the head of school, one of the things we do at our school is we, in August, set aside time before students come to school. We set aside time for teachers to work on the year-long curriculum. And they've got the 3-year curriculum. They look at the year-long curriculum and they say, okay, we're going to, the science teacher might say, well, I'm going to be working on roller coasters. And the technology teacher might say, all right, then I'm going to teach them how the light sensor or 3D printing works. And then the English teacher, the classroom Montessori guides in the classroom will talk about how they will conduct research and teach children how to do research. The art teacher might say, all right, I'm going to talk about themes and how they can show those themes in their structures. So it's an important conversation that teachers, all adults, need to have, because for a student to have that integrated experience, all adults have to be on the same page. And then preparing your environment, once you decide what experiments or what projects you want to do, then you have to set aside those tools. It doesn't really take a lot of money. You can think, you have to think outside the box about how you can make it happen at your school. For example, at our school, we do a lot of partnerships. And that's how we've been able to make these things accessible for our students. So you have the STEAM curriculum that you can identify based on your 3-year cycle and based on the resources you have at your school. And then you say, okay, how language skills used? Language skills, you can do brainstorming, you can teach them to document, you can teach students to record, you can teach them how to organize their notes into research papers. For math skills, you can collect data, you can teach them how to calculate, take averages, means, using logic. In science, you can take your science curriculum and decide what do you want to focus on. For example, at our school, we focus on life cycles. We focus on plants and flowers. We focus on animal study. We focus on the physical sciences, sound, magnets, light, forces and motion, simple machines. So those are the parts of our curriculum. And you don't have to do it all in 1 year. You don't have to do it all in one program level. You can set aside some topics for lower elementary, some for upper elementary, some for the adolescent program. In geography, most schools do this. We study countries, biomes, cultures. You can bring that into your STEAM fair projects. In art, we teach them to make dioramas. We teach them sketching. Origami is one art form that you can teach. Also, graphic design. How are you going to place your pieces on your poster board? We do sound effects in music. They can use, there's so much available now, just with Scratch programming, or you can have a microphone attached and they can do some video recording, composing. And in the technology classes is where they really learn the skills. So before they even start learning the skills, teachers will talk about what are the safety guidelines that you need to follow, because you're giving them scissors, hot glue gun, box cutters, they're going to use drill machines. It's really important that children understand what the safety rules are. And so that inner regulation or inner moral compass has to be in a good place for them to be able to explore these tools. So here's an example of a gingerbread castle that the children have made. Again, they don't make these from any kits. These are completely designed by them. And once their paper prototype stands, then they can roll out the dough, bake the gingerbread pieces, and then they can build them. So what a STEAM curriculum allows, it allows for children to explore their passions, explore their interests. It allows them to fail, and it allows them to develop that resilience of saying, okay, there are times when children will be so upset because their outcome wasn't what they were expecting. And they have to learn to let it go and come back again with fresh eyes and a fresh mindset. So you can talk about the growth mindset. You can talk about learning from failure. With that experience, they're going to develop lifelong skills of resilience, communicating, managing a large project by breaking it into parts. They also are, as Nancy said in her video, that they learn how to present these skills to their peers. They learn to present these projects to parents and people from the larger community. So just being able to stand and talk knowledgeably about their projects is really good. And all of this is done in a nurturing environment. It's done where children can feel free to fail and then be able to learn skills along the way. So here I'd like to take a little pause and ask you, what are your goals for your STEAM curriculum? What have you tried? And you can make this for our school, it's an integral part of our curriculum. In some schools, you can take just bits and parts of it and have it maybe a special project. So what works for your school, and what are your experiences? Anybody who would like to share, you can unmute and please share.
We do have a great question in the chat from Julia here. I'll read it out. She asks, if our school does not have a specific science, art, or tech teacher, do we just need more time as guides to work with the administration to integrate STEAM, or focus on collaboration between classes to ensure we are all using the same programming?
That's a good question. Your parent community also is a great resource. Sometimes you'll find parents in your community who have the tools and also the knowledge. I started as a parent at my son's school, and I would just be there after school to work with students on creative thinking projects. And that led me to develop a new skill and another skill and another skill, and ended up slowly over time with a school that has an integrated STEAM program. So if you don't have the technology teacher or art teacher, there are many resources online. You can say STEAM activities for children. And the barrier is so low because you can simply use paper and craft supplies to create STEAM projects. There's a competition called Destination Imagination. And in some states, it's called, I think, Olympiad. I'm sorry, I'm missing. Julia, do you know what it's called?
Science Olympiad.
Science Olympiad, but it's another one that is similar to Destination Imagination. But these organizations have a lot of resources where you can just simply take those activities and start bringing them to your classroom. Even as maybe at 11 o'clock when they're done, or 11:30 when they're done with their morning uninterrupted work time, you can have these items available on the shelves for them to try. Or you can set it as what our science teacher does. She sets these projects on the shelf and they can go anytime and pick those projects. Especially in lower elementary and upper elementary, when they don't have as many practical life activities, these small projects can add to the practical life experience. So let's say that you would like to integrate STEAM in your curriculum, I would start by identifying the cultural elements in your curriculum, because those science, history, geography items, they allow for, a varied imaginary experience for children. What are the biomes? What kind of area might my animal live in, or the plant might live in? You can talk about, one year our students did the timeline of life. And so one of the students, she had saber-toothed tiger and her babies. And she wrote a story about them and then used Scratch to illustrate the story. So there are many ways to integrate STEAM. It's not just origami and robots. That was just one example I shared. You can think about what is your focus? What would you like to do? And then make that your central theme and have your staff work with you around that central theme. It's amazing to see how many different ideas you get. Our STEAM Fair projects are never the same every year. They may have the same theme, but depending on the teachers and their interests, they're always different. Think about, maybe you can just start by integrating 2 or 3 curricular areas instead of trying to do it all at once. And you may say, all right, we look at your staff and say, which teacher teams can you create? And how would they work together? So you can start from there. And, as a leader, you can envision what your outcome should be. A simple project could be, I know at Kingsley Montessori, one of my friends, Melanie Flores, she did for kindergarten students, just designing a footwear for them. And there's a wonderful TED talk she's done about it. So you can look at, a simple project that kindergarten students can do and then build from there. The whole idea is to teach them how to problem solve. So that's what I would say, what I have to share. And I would say, let's open up the conversation for discussion, questions. You can reach me at rsharma@tecschools.com. And I will stop sharing now so that we can have a conversation.
Rupali, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I see that you offer in your school upper elementary to middle school, right? Do you have a primary program too?
We don't have a primary program because we are housed in a church, and the church has its preschool in the building. So when we rented the space, we agreed that we will not have our children's house program on this campus.
So the question is that when you started your school, did you offer this integrated program from day one, or did you actually over time transition into it? How did you approach it?
Yeah. So as I said, my son went to a Montessori school and I followed him there. My training is as an architect. And when we moved from India to the US, I followed my son into his Montessori school as an assistant teacher and noticed that there wasn't a lot of STEM work in the classroom. And so I started bringing STEM activities and in after-school programs, in competitions, and built the after-school program and offered it to various schools, various Montessori schools in the area. After that, when my son graduated from school and went to college and I had more time, I decided to start our school. And the thought from day one was that it would be an integrated STEAM curriculum in a Montessori school. Montessori and STEAM, they go very well hand in hand. You have the open-ended, inquiry-based learning, child-focused. There's no, the bell doesn't ring, so they don't have to stop. They can pursue their interest as long as they want. They can put it away and come back at it another day. So it goes really well. It's very complementary to the Montessori curriculum.
The final question is, in this situation, you may have mentioned it, but probably I missed it. Now, there's a regular curriculum for Montessori that goes on, right? That's in the work cycle. So you say that you only do the STEM activities certain days of the month, or is basically an integral part of a daily activity, or how is it structured? It wasn't clear to me when you went through it. So if you could repeat.
Right. So just to go through the year-long cycle, I would say September and October is when children are transitioning. So that's when the teachers do smaller community building, collaborative STEAM activities in the classroom. For example, a team building activity in September was they had paper tubes and a marble, and children had to hold the paper tube to let the marble go, and they had to make a marble run with just the paper tube. So it's a STEAM activity, but it's a collaborative community building activity. It also allows them problem solving skills, also builds trust. So the activities are integrated. As the year progresses, they also have weekly technology classes, weekly science classes, and that's where they're learning the hard skills about observations, data collection, using the tools that they're going to need eventually in the larger projects. When we have our STEAM fair, that's from January through February, those 6 to 8 weeks, the focus is more on the STEAM program. So even during their work time, they are working on the STEAM fair project, because we don't want it to be a project that they do completely at home. We want those children to learn the skills at school. So some of the regular Montessori work kind of gets pushed aside because of the focus on the STEAM program. The technology teacher may come into the classroom, or the science teacher might take students for longer duration multiple times during the week. And then March through June, again, it's once a week technology, science classes, art classes. And within that, they start working towards the end of the year show, which the upper elementary and middle school students, they write the play, and the children build the props and technical elements for the backdrops from April through June. So it's integrated, but there's a lot of flexibility within the day for the students to work on their projects.
I do understand that you do this once a week, right? Be bringing some hard skills and all that. But when you do your fair, when 6 to 8 weeks, where there's a lot of emphasis and commitment to, does that interfere in the regular Montessori with the regular Montessori program, or it has not been an issue?
So there's a give and take. In the morning between 8:30 to 11, children have their uninterrupted work time. And from 11 onwards, 11:15 or so onwards, they start working on their STEAM fair work. In the afternoons, even the specials that they have, whether it's art, science, not music so much, but technology, the focus is geared towards their projects. So they're working individually on their projects during that time. But in the morning, they have their morning work cycle, which, that regularity is also very important, because children need that dependent, stable schedule in their daytime, in their work time. Otherwise, especially children who are not yet normalized, it throws them off completely if you disrupt their schedule all the time.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
We have a question here in your chat from Julie to see if you could share your email in the chat here, just for any follow-up questions. I'm also going to post a link to our YouTube channel, because the recording will be posted there later today. So if you want to reference this video or go back on any of the ideas, you can do that. Thank you, Rupali.
You're welcome. I would just say, have fun. It is, you have to trust children. And as Montessori teachers, we believe in them, and they come up with some of the best ideas. I like Maria Montessori's quote where she says, imagination can be great when you give them the tools that they need and the time that they need, and then just let the child be. So with that, thank you very much for joining.
I'm also going to put the link to your website in the chat in case anybody wants to learn more about STEAM. But yeah, I guess I'll pause for any last minute questions, comments.
I actually had a question about creating the teacher buy-in, the guide buy-in for these programs, and if there's a difference with integrating STEAM into an AMI program versus an AMS program. Kind of, how do I make everyone happy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So it really comes from your strategic vision. What is it that the school believes in? So our mission says, we believe in children's curiosity and the potential that every child has. So if you're preparing them for life, then we have to nurture that potential. A big part is teacher education. So we do in our staff meetings every week, there's an education moment. It doesn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes, but a teacher, a staff member usually will choose a topic to educate everybody. And whether it, the science teacher might talk about observations, or the language teacher might talk about, and we don't have language teachers, we have Montessori guides. They'll talk about how they're doing research. Yesterday, we had a teacher who talked about writing stories using motivation, emotion, which is very different from the 5 Ws. So building the culture of learning that, we are lifelong learners, showing that really helps. So if you can build that education within your staff meetings, or set aside professional development time, that would be helpful. We are very close to a college called WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, and they have a STEM program for teachers, kindergarten through grade 12. And so some of our teachers take professional development classes over there. I know that there are some online classes available too for teachers that they can use for professional development. But if teachers are not comfortable, they're not going to be able to teach the STEM programs. So it's really important for teachers to become comfortable with the idea. I would say start with what teachers are good at. Every teacher is good at something, even if they're good at literature. All right, let's take Corduroy as a book. Corduroy's button falls off. What are different ways we're going to help Corduroy? And everybody in the class can have fun with that. And it's a STEM project.
Rupali, I have the same concern that Julia just expressed in terms of getting a buy-in of the guides and the teachers. People who've been doing this for many, many years, I mean, they feel very comfortable in their little bubble. Yeah, you might have a vision, but to sell them vision and to get excited about that, I mean, seems like a monumental task. So, I mean, I just do not know how to get from point A to point B to be even start looking into it and building on it. So that's the challenge.
Yeah, it takes time. I would say don't expect results overnight. Start with very small steps, and every year set aside professional development so that they can start feeling comfortable. And although our school is a young school, my training was longer, and it has taken me, at least 10 years to get where I am. And along with me, the teachers who have worked with me. So it doesn't happen overnight. Give yourself time, say in the next 3 years, in the next year, we're going to start talking about what is STEAM, and start doing small projects, maybe once a month in the classroom. And then the following year, we're going to do one big project. The following year, we're going to see how we can integrate 2 disciplines. And so you can do a 3-year cycle, or you can build out a plan and then slowly parcel it out, because change is hard for anybody. And as you correctly said, Vali, that people are comfortable in their own skill sets, and you have to get them outside their comfort zone. So training teachers, I would say preparing your teachers is the key, and then giving them tools that they need in the classroom.
All right, all great questions and great answers. Anybody else have any last questions before we wrap up on our hour workshop?
The last question is, do you happen to have any good resources for grants to better integrate some of these programs?
Yeah, actually, there are many companies out there that are willing to give you money for STEM programs. A lot of smaller banks, like we have Digital Credit Union in Massachusetts, and they offer $2,000 grants to schools. So that's more than enough for a small project. You don't need a lot of money. We have Saint Gobain, which is another company here that does programs for STEM schools, and they will also send. Sometimes, people are very eager to share their knowledge, so they will send their people to do a project at your school. We also partner with a advanced math and science academy, and the students there who are high school students, they come and work one-on-one with our teachers, with our students. So use the resources that are available. There are many STEM grants that are offered by your local government. So look at your state. I know that Massachusetts has some. If it's a not-for-profit school, you have access to more grants. If you are a for-profit school, your access is limited. But people are willing to donate. Another thing that you can have is have your alumni speak to the parents of your school and talk about how the experience at your school has helped them. And that way you can generate money within your school.
Great. Thank you so much, Rupali, and thank you for everyone who came today and who participated and asked questions. Hopefully you found this helpful. We hope to have Rupali back in the future at another town hall. We've really enjoyed everything you've had to share. Hopefully some of you can find creative ways to integrate STEAM programs into your school. I know that they're a lot of fun for the kids. So thank you, Rupali. Next week, we're going to be talking about parent education and how you can implement the silent journey into your school. We're going to be joined by one of our own community members who is just going to share how they do their silent journey at their school. Maybe you can exchange ideas, join in if you're looking to implement it, or just come to see how other schools do it. So we look forward to seeing you there next Thursday. Until then, have a great week. And thank you so much, Rupali, for your wisdom and your time.
Thank you. Good luck, everyone. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the information. I really appreciate it.